This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel said it best, the whole of the Auburn experience. That is what we're talking about each and every day here on this show, because it's about a variety of many things, all the different places, people, sports, and things. But at its heart, at its core, it's all about sports. It is all about our culture, and it is all about our family, the Auburn family. Because it is about family, I've got to have somebody here to talk with me, because this is all about family discussions and things like that. So back with me yet again, my co-host and good friend, and some two individuals call him Daddy, apparently, Austin Scott, back in the show.
Thank you for that introduction, Kyle. War Eagle to you. There are people out there saying that this is the GOAT episode.
Yes.
This is going to be the greatest episode of all time because it is episode 34.
It is. It is
Bo
the
Jackson,
one.
Charles Barkley. I mean, this is the one.
This is it, man. I mean, should we just stop the show after this? Like, that's it? We can't ever attain any other greatness?
We can keep going, and we will do fantastic things on this show, and we'll continue providing great content. But this episode is the GOAT episode, and there's nothing else that we can say that will take it away from that.
But now we've got a debate, though, about this whole number one debate, that Charles and Bo have all the time. I think really it's just something that Charles likes to play up the entire time. And I loved being at the Frank Thomas opening the ceremony for the unveiling of the statue. He kind of talked about that whole debate of who's the number one, and they tried to involve him in that. Look, it's all in good fun, but if you got two guys with 34 on them, obviously our mind goes to Bo Jackson first. So I think that kind of dictates who number one is, but I mean, two of the best that's ever done it at Auburn and in both, really multiple sports, with Bo being baseball, football. And, I always often wonder if we could have gotten him into the Olympics for track and field, how much even bigger his legend might have been.
Oh, it would have been, it's hard to imagine it being bigger than it already is, but you're exactly right. Yeah, I think Bo might let Charles think he's number one every now and then. Just let him, for the sake of just giving him something.
Yeah, look, Charles is a big man. We got to give him something to help that ego be held up every once in a while. We love him. And I love him more as he's getting older too, especially just seeing him on TV a lot and the way he's really helps promote Auburn. But he's a big man with a somewhat humble, but still a big ego that we can prop up every once in a while. So as we talk about some Auburn potpourri things before we move into the big topics tonight, I'd like to ask you, just off the cuff here, how are the twins doing? Since I guess I should have set the precedent when I said someone calls you Daddy at the beginning of the show. That might have been a better way to start into this, so it didn't get a little awkward there. But how are the twins doing?
The boys are doing good. They're growing and eating and sometimes sleeping, and so it's been good. Another week has gone by, hard to believe, but they're both over 7 pounds now, so they're growing pretty strong. It was special this weekend. I got to host a bachelor weekend for a friend of mine that I met while at Auburn. Has been one of those friends that that's going to be around for a long time, and I'm thankful that the Lord blessed me with him, but also that Auburn provided that avenue for us to all meet, and now provided us for all to get back together as we hung out this weekend. But it was special for them to get to meet them and meet those guys, as they're very important to me, and I hope that they'll be very important to my boys one day as kind of those de facto uncles that we sometimes have of friends who aren't really related but feel like family. So that was special this weekend, and I'm looking forward to kind of seeing those friendships blossom. But all in all, the boys are doing great.
Well, and you couldn't have picked a better weekend to have a special event like this, given some of the things that we're going to talk about, especially in that first big segment coming up here around Auburn baseball and a certain bird. Real quick, though, a couple of smaller topics here. And one's a double dose of one sport, softball, and one's good and one's bad. But I do want to express condolences to head coach Mickey Dean of Auburn softball, who just lost his father this weekend and still stayed and coached through the series. I don't know how you did it, to be honest with you. I know what it was like losing my father, And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of fortitude to, I promise I'm not getting choked up because of that, but it would have been very fitting there. But yeah, my heart goes out to him, and I'm just impressed with the way his team responded for him winning the series, the last one of the regular season, and something big and important coming up here in just a second we'll mention. But obviously you got to be impressed with what he and his team did this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Coach Dean has played a very big role and fit the Auburn atmosphere and culture really well since he came. And, you know, we talk about the Auburn experience, and we can talk about the Auburn family at nauseum. And I think that certainly helped his case this weekend of kind of going through something really tough. But it was a rallying for him to be around his team and his players and his coaches, and not take your mind off it, because you don't want to say that he's forgetting about his father, but
Right.
also making sure that he surrounds himself with people that are being there and supporting him. And so even better that they got wins for him this weekend. And I'm sure that was really emotional for him, but congratulations to them, and a job well done.
Yeah, I've got to imagine that in some way it doesn't take away the pain of losing your father, but it does help knowing that you're surrounded by hordes of
Correct.
people that are obviously here for you in any given day, any given weekend series, but are here for you in an extra special way on an important weekend for you personally, but also for the team as well. And speaking of the good thing that we want to transition to, the season's over, and your Auburn softball team has kind of caught fire, much like the baseball team seems to be doing as well. It's kind of funny how these two things coincide a lot, and is now the number 3 seed in the SEC tournament. And a lot of people didn't expect them to be there. I think I even saw, I think it was Bree Ellis post.
It was, yep.
That where were they originally thought to be in the preseason? Ninth.
Yep.
And there are 13 SEC teams in softball, because I think we don't have one.
Correct.
So that is well into the bottom half. So imagine that bottom half type of scenario. That's what you're expecting. How many times do prognosticators, media people have to pick against Auburn and then be proven wrong? Like, I'm just saying, it doesn't matter what the sport is. If you put us at the bottom, we're going to doggone it. We're going to make sure you look silly at the end of the team. It doesn't happen every year. But this year, I mean, I think a lot of the talent pieces were in place, and now all they did was, lay their heads down and go to work. And here we are, number 3 in the SEC tournament, and good position for postseason play.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I cannot remember the exact year, but we are, right at that point where these are Mickey Dean's players. He's got a full roster of those that he picked for his team, and it's showing. And it's you're right. It's very underrated how well Coach Mickey Dean has done and how well these players have done. I think we talked about a couple weeks ago the first series win in Tuscaloosa, and ever, and then Alabama's the 5 seed. Not that's where you always base your metric, but I mean that's a team that is always play with the double bye. And Auburn has that 3 seed, and we'll play the winner of LSU and Ole Miss on Thursday. But a really job well done that I think has snuck up on a lot of people, Auburn fans included, of how well this team is playing and how much further they can go. So just really, really, really impressive. We already talked about the circumstances around it to make it kind of even more impressive for this team to really focus on. But just impressive work and impressive job well done for this team that, I think we've had a lot of hills and valleys with the interest, right? The softball program got really hot there when they were making College World Series and playing for titles, and then kind of fell back in a lull while we rebuilt the program up. And it looks like things are on a steady spectrum right now. So really impressive, and looking forward to where they're headed.
Yeah, well, that's why I always preach patience. And I think some people were losing patience with Mickey Dean for a little while there, but I think there were some circumstances, COVID and otherwise, that didn't necessarily play in anybody's favor. But when you're trying to rebuild something, it requires a little extra patience. You can see what happens at this point. Obviously, still don't know how this is going to play out, but so far, so good. And last thing here on the Auburn Potpourri segment, it's graduation weekend is completed at Auburn amongst athletes, students alike. And I just want to wish a heartfelt congratulations, if we can, it's not overused, to every new Auburn alumni. Every single year this comes around, and I just go back into my feels, into my nostalgia of my time at Auburn, but also that day for me. And, we've told that story several times here on some format on E2's Network, and I'm sure we can find a weekend during off season to talk about those things again. But just want to wish a congratulations to all of the new graduates, and welcome to a little special fraternity and sorority within the Auburn family. We're all part of the family. We're all part of the experience, but that these little subgroups, and being an alumni, no, it is extra special. And we are happy to have those being a part of that now. Let's talk about our big topic number one on the night, something that I think that was a humongous surprise this week. And no, it wasn't Auburn dominating in the final game of the series. LSU run ruling them to win the series and just shock I think, can we just be honest, Austin? The LSU fans are struggling with the notion that they got beat.
Goodness, are they?
Some social media shenanigans and discussions about class and things like that. And I shared with one particular LSU fan, buddy, I got a few dandies about your fan base if we want to start, having a measuring stick here.
Let's not just scream the pot is black, the kettle's black. Let's just make sure that we're all, take a step back, put down the phone for a minute, and take the emotions out of this and realize what fan base we're talking about here. So
exactly.
But we can, it's always sweet to be able to talk about these kind of things when you've got 2 wins in your back pocket too.
Yes, obviously we're in the driver's seat right now in this type of discussion, right? So we understand there's a little soreness over there. There's a little happiness over here, a little unexpected happiness, not just for that, but for the big thing that we want to talk about. For the very first time, folks, and for the life of me, how has this never happened before? Like, it just seems like if there's any other sport that this could and should have happened at, logistics alone, it's Auburn baseball. Now, I'll be completely honest with you. I was actually talking with we need to have like a Buc-ee's jar every time we mention Buc-ee's, and then we need to have a Clint Richardson jar every time we mention Clint Richardson. I was talking with Clint this week before leading up to this, and we were just discussing, since I have a background, not only volunteering at the Raptor Center, but for the majority of my adult working life, I worked with birds at a zoo and raptors too. Talked about the logistics of this, and I said, I can't for the life of me. It seems too simple to do what they ended up doing, but it obviously made the most sense. But I was just trying to figure out like where they were going to come from, all these things. But the first War Eagle flight at Auburn Plainsman Park for Auburn baseball game, what an incredible event. I am super sad that I couldn't make the justification for me to make a really quick trip down there. You got to witness it in person with your friends, as you already mentioned. And wow, what a cool and special moment. So why don't I let you kind of give your perspective, since you were there live and got to see and provided us even a shot of what was going on. I'd love to hear what it was like for you.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those things. We had already planned to go to the Saturday night game and be in attendance in the stadium. And then the news kind of broke Wednesday or Thursday, I think.
Did you have some inside knowledge on this?
Zero. Had zero inside knowledge. It worked out that way. And it was awesome to be able to be there for it. But we were wondering the same thing. We got there early. We were all excited about it and wanting to be there for it. And got there early in our seats, and we were kind of scoping things out. We're like, where are they going to fly this bird from?
Right.
And how is it going to go? We're looking up at the parking deck. We're like, maybe it's coming from there, kind of come down into the stadium. Is it going to come from the hitting facility? And then like right after the national anthem, you could see, I didn't see anything from the backside, obviously, because I was in the stadium. I haven't seen any pictures, but they had a way to get up on top of the batter's eye, I guess. I don't know if it was a crane or a giant ladder, but you could see them kind of pop out from up behind and put the crate up, and then she flew right on.
She flew real good,
kind of a straight. The eagle flew good. She flew straight from the batter's eye and did just a little kind of circle right before the net behind home plate, and landed right there in front of home plate. So it was pretty cool. It was kind of it reminded me very similar of kind of what used to happen during that first season
Yeah.
of the eagle flight, where it's just a straight shot while we're trying to figure this thing out. Um, and I did get nervous about the net because she got really close to the net, and I was like, if her talons get caught, this is not going to be good. And I actually had one of the groomsmen in this bachelor party that we were part of. I did not know until this weekend. He said that he had been to the Auburn game when I don't know which Tiger it was, but when Tiger hit the one of the boxes,
That was actually
and
Spirit.
so Spirit, thank you. See,
Yes.
I knew you would correct me there. When Spirit hit the box. And so he was like, I don't have a good track record. He was like, if something goes wrong, this is on me. And so when she got close to that net, I was like, oh no, this is not good. But she did great. She flew flawlessly, and it was very impressive and very cool to see. I'm wondering how much more often we're going to be able to do this.
Yeah. I think probably this was a good benchmark to see how
Yeah.
successful it was going to be. There's a part of me when I saw the net portion come up, and I think we all kind of, kind of held our breath for a
Mhm.
second there. It did look like they had worked on that a little bit. I maybe not. Maybe it was just they were kind of hoping. I should say that I know the level of dedication and
Yeah.
work it goes into
Right.
training birds. And let me just tell you, we don't have time here in this short segment to cover all that. Again, we always reference this. Maybe another day when we need some stuff to talk about. But the level of work it takes to help a bird learn its cues, where to fly to, and all that kind of, and to trace on a lure, the thing that they spin around and things like that. It's a lot. These birds are smart too. Well, most of them are smart. I will tell you this, and let me just say this. I say this from personal experience, and I also say this from things that I'm told. This is not a statement of fact about our particular birds. Could carry over into that. Bald eagles have a tendency to not be the wisest of the eagles. And so it's not a shock that Spirit has flown out of the stadium and come back. That's always good, though, but kind of scared us, scraped his talons against the glass in the football stadium. So when I saw Independence come out, I just not trying to be prejudiced toward bald eagles because we love them. They're our nation's,
Of course.
the
Yeah.
symbol, patriotic over here. But I kind of said, all right, here we go. This is what we like rolling the dice here a little bit. But again, you just can't doubt, obviously, the birds themselves, but the training that goes in with the caretakers and those that work at the Auburn Raptor Center and did a great job.
Yeah.
So all that being said, any fears, they weren't warranted because it went off without hitch.
Let me ask you something, and this is a small tangent, but I think I know which way you're going to lean here. Preference. My first question: preference of Auburn's use of the golden eagle versus the bald eagle.
I mean,
your personal preference.
It has nothing to do with what I just said about bald eagles, but because I
Correct,
think
yeah.
bald eagles look majestic. Because they just kind of stick out a little bit more with their quote unquote bald head. But golden eagles, I mean, because was the first eagle. But these are birds that they have to work with and figure out who's the best option for them to do so. Also, these are birds that are rehabilitated, can't go back into the wild. So there may not be a golden eagle that once some others retire that are available. But we've got Aria now and stuff like that. So it's really who is learning all of this, what they need to accomplish. And look, if Andrew Hopkins, who I think is in charge over there now, is seeing this, I'm sorry, I'm butchering this. And he's probably like screaming, that's not how it works. I know. I've been out of the bird world for a little bit, and I'm probably like not using all the terminology correctly. But I prefer the golden eagles just because of nostalgia, and that's really the only reason for that.
No, we're in the same boat there. I was just curious.
And kind of some, I guess, final thoughts about this. So when I was thinking through this, I thought, well, higher the better. Parking garage makes a lot of sense. It gets a little rowdy up there in the parking garage with AUPPL and all of his crew up there. Nope, it's not a statement against them. Just it is a little lively up there. So I don't know if that, but you think they do this from the stadium walkway?
Oh yeah,
pretty rowdy up there too. So it's like, well, it's basically what they're used to at that point. I think that's probably the best place. When Clint and Autumn and his wife I were talking, we talked that the what do you call it, the big wall? What did you call it?
The batter's eye. Yep.
Batter's eye. But I thought maybe there's some buildings further back behind that were even taller. That would be a bigger, and it's more distance. But I thought maybe that's a better setup. Who knows? This was run one.
I think they could have just opened somebody's window from the South Donahue dorms and just, I mean, let somebody have the honor of letting the bird fly out your window. I think that would have been pretty good. But
I think
all in all, it led to 2 wins over the number 1 team in the country. So I say we do it as many times as we want.
Hey, look, if it's going to happen, it happens against the number 1 team. And
that's right.
Boy, we're undefeated when a bird flies. So that's all I'm saying. If there's anything else that you need to have is this should happen again, folks, Raptor Center, that's Auburn right. Athletics people, we're 1-0 when the bird flies against number 1 teams. Let's do this again. It went great. And obviously you want to take your time and train with this. This was a good first run at this, and who knows what else they might do in the future with the Eagles. But obviously we want to make sure that they're taken care of, and this is done the right way. But all in all, great response, great excitement around that, and it went great overall. Let's talk about our other big topic tonight, something that we've been putting off for quite some time. Because we knew a lot of things were going to start rolling, right? Or at least we had an idea that the transfer portal for the spring football especially had already closed and opened in a sense. Closed in the sense people could enter it, but also had opened up for people who had already entered to start visiting Auburn, to start considering whether they wanted to be here or not. So a lot of people have been asking us to give our thoughts on that, and that's kind of why we've been holding off on the Auburn Experience Show. We've been talking about it on our other live streams and things like that. But here, this is our take on it. So let me open us up with this to give you, at least for football, a quick picture of just the spring portion of it. So this is everybody who has left and now entered into being part of the Auburn football team. Tavares Dawson, wide receiver, has left and since gone to Colorado. Jeffrey Emba left and gone to Purdue. Desmond Tisdale, still undecided, has left Auburn, though. Powell Gordon is still not decided. He's got a few people he's thinking about, according to this website, but has left Auburn. And also, you've got Craig McDonald, who has gone to Minnesota. I'm going to butcher his name, so I apologize. Tobechi Okole, I think is how you say it. Undecided, has left Auburn. And a big surprise, honestly, for me, Dylan Brooks, edge rusher, left Auburn, has not decided somewhere to go as of the show. And then Landon King has also, wide receiver, decided to go into the portal, has not decided yet. But the big one, and maybe let's start here before we talk about who has come to Auburn. TJ Finley has left Auburn, but he will leave, provided he follows through with what he said he was going to do, as a graduate. So to me, if you're going to leave Auburn, this is the way you do it. And this is not a statement for or against him as a good option at quarterback. I just love when guys, if you have to leave, if you need to take an opportunity to do something better for yourself, or you feel it's the better choice, leave as a graduate. If you can, that's like the ideal scenario for me. So I don't know about you, how you feel about it, but for me, Austin, I'm super proud that he leaves with that. Will leave this summer with that Auburn diploma in hand.
Yeah, no, good for him. And, this being graduation weekend, I don't know what his degree was in, and I don't know when he would presumably walk for graduation, but sounds like that is his plan. And I think that is probably the easiest way for him to be able to play somewhere else next year. So good for him. And all those who graduated from, student athletes this weekend, whether they're heading out or staying another year at Auburn or entering the workforce. So, good for him. And I think anytime you can get a degree from Auburn, I know you and I are relatively close to Auburn. But the Auburn University degree holds a lot of weight in a lot of places around this country and around this world. So good for him to have that in hand. And good for him to be able to say he has that forever.
And you act like you aren't within the backyard of Auburn. Like you say, we're fairly close to Auburn. Like you're not in the...
nice.
Yeah, I appreciate you softening the blow to remind me continuously that I'm far enough away where I can make the trip if I want to on this weekend, but it's still quite a haul just for a short moment. So thank you for continuing to jab that in there, even subtly.
You're
I
so
appreciate
welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Continuing on the portal discussion here, I didn't mention Colby Smith, offensive lineman, also into the portal, not decided yet. So that is everybody from the spring. Don't forget that there's been people since that point, or excuse me, before that point, who have already gone in and gone somewhere else. And there's probably people after this discussion that will be part of that equation too, at least in terms of where they're going to end up going outside of Auburn. But now let's talk about the good stuff, what we've all been waiting on. The big decisions, people deciding to come be at Auburn. And within 1 week, Austin, not one, not two, but three decide to come be part of this team. And let's just say this, two of them from Power 5 programs, two of them, which were from pretty decent programs too. At least, they're usually in the hunt somewhere in the top 25, one in particular. But first, defensive end, edge, linebacker, whatever you want to categorize him as, Jalen McLeod comes to Auburn. Quarterback from Michigan State, almost at Eastern Michigan for some reason, I guess because they're both green. Michigan State, Peyton Thorne, and wide receiver from Ohio State, Caleb Burton. We've got videos out here on the channel if you want some breakdown information about that. But Austin, I will open the floor for you first. Your thoughts on your three new additions to the Auburn football team so far.
Yeah, how about that? Definitely all three different positions, all three positions of need that this coaching staff has said we need to add people at these positions for competition's sake, to help us immediately, all the things. So check. Really great for each of those guys to be joining Auburn. Each of them, I think, will be able to contribute, whether it's immediately or in the future. The big one, obviously, is Peyton Thorne. Peyton Thorne, a 2-year starter at Michigan State, and has 2 years of eligibility left. A very experienced quarterback in a Power 5 conference, has played in big games, big stadiums, on the big time stages. So when Peyton Thorne entered the portal, it seemed like everybody kind of knew something like, okay, this is someone that Coach Freeze and the staff has been waiting on to see if they're going to hop in. Everyone kind of laughed because another option presumed to be Casey Thompson. He entered right around the same time, and it was right after the soundbite of on the ambush tour, Coach Freeze saying maybe there's someone else popping in a day or two. Sounds like these guys kind of know what they're doing. Let's just remember that every now and then.
Just a little bit.
So Peyton Thorne seems to be the guy that staff has a lot of hope in, might be able to come in and either push Robbie Ashford or Holden Gerner or to win the job outright. And so I think a lot of people are expecting him to go ahead and win the job, given his experience and his accolades of his own. I think it's definitely going to be a competition to watch. And, Robbie Ashford's one of his first public comments was iron sharpens iron. So he's ready to compete as well. That should make everybody happy because the more competition, the better. If it does end up being Peyton Thorne, then he's been pushed by Robbie Ashford. If it does end up being Robbie Ashford, regardless of what your opinion is right now, that means he won the job. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Burton. I think he's, didn't get to play a lot last year during his freshman season, but, has a lot of ability and is going to be at Auburn for the next 4 years, max. So that's a position that Auburn desperately needs some help. And then Jalen McLeod, an edge rusher, we need somebody to get to the quarterback and stop the run. So I'm excited about all three of those additions. I think they're all going to help us. And it sounds like there might be some more on the way too in those positions and others. So a great week for the portal and for Auburn football.
Yeah, I love everything that you said there. And I love that you brought up that Robbie first comments that he made, obviously clearly in relation to the news, because it was minutes after that, is iron sharpens iron. And that is exactly what I wanted to see out of Robbie. No matter how this shakes out, it's no secret. Robbie was kind of, at least publicly, perception-wise, in some people's minds, the second choice in quarterback since he got here until he earned it during the season. And, showed a lot of talent and promise. Still rough edges, but who doesn't still have rough edges in anything, sports and otherwise, and can always get better. But TJ's gone, so you got to fill the role. The question is, do you just find a space filler, or do you find someone that can come in and make everybody else better? And Peyton Thorne, I think, is going to be able to do that. Now, look, we're not going to sit here and mince words and act like if you were not advocating for gambling or anything like that, but if you do that sort of thing, you probably put money on Peyton Thorne being the starter. It's not a given, though. And even if that's the case, you're going to tell me Hugh Freeze doesn't see that athlete and Robbie Ashford sitting on the sideline and keep him there? That's stupid. He's going to utilize him some way, still as a quarterback, I'm sure, and could still be the future, even if that scenario plays out that way. So I feel much better about the quarterback situation. I also feel much better, as you said, about the edge rusher position, because you lost Colby Wooden, you lost Derek Hall, you lost Dylan Brooks, who was going to be the future there. We just talked about that in the losses in the portal. And this guy, he's only going to be here. I think he's got 1 year technically, but could use a COVID year if he wanted to.
I can't keep up. I'm ready for the COVID years to go. I mean, we got guys playing 7-8 years in college, and it's normal. I'm over it.
Listen, I think with Caleb Burton, to kind of tie him in here too, I think he would not be eligible for this COVID year. I think we're close to getting out of that window where everybody who was here got a COVID year. Look, do I love being able to keep people, especially ones that we really need, around for an extra year than we normally would? Sure. But when you do this stuff, you talk about these things, it's hard to keep track of all this thing. Cause then you're like, he's got this much eligibility. I'm like, you keep track of it all. Like it's tough. It's tough. So yeah, that's my gripe for today. That's what grinds my gears, is having to keep track of eligibility in the COVID year era. But having Jalen McLeod come in and obviously provide depth, but going to play and then build up the future, give those guys that have just come in at the edge position to build up time. And then you've got a guy in wide receiver who can likely be here if he chooses to be so for a while and maybe become a star here. He was highly regarded during the recruiting process. So if you want to talk about patience paying off, we talked a lot about it at the start of the show with softball and what we're seeing them build to over several seasons. Talk about patience on the portal getting started for Auburn football. I think it's paid off and is still going to continue to pay off in some other areas too. Maybe some related areas we've already talked about, not quarterback. I think we're done, but it's a good start to the transfer portal. Thus why we waited to talk about it, because we wanted to be able to talk about the greatness all in one big swoop. So if I had to get one prediction from you, sir, for kind of last thoughts here, what's the next position to commit from the transfer portal to Auburn football?
I think you're going to see a couple more receivers coming through here. I think a couple are going to keep coming. I think that's a position Auburn needs some depth at, and some guys who do some different kind of things. So, and I mean, like you mentioned in the losses, Landon King and Tavares Dawson have left. That's two spots that you've already lost receivers anyway, whether you're looking for depth or for starters. So, I think my guess would be receivers. I'm not gonna bet on anything. That seems to be a poor choice to do around here these days. But I'm just gonna do receivers. I don't want to get any trouble on betting for stuff. That's for the other half of the state. But just receivers is where I'm gonna go.
You found a way to work our pre-show comments into that. And I am so proud of you.
Took me almost the whole episode, but I got there.
Yeah, I could see you like the wheels turning throughout the but you figured out how to work bets. And, I was ashamed that you didn't work a certain documentary into it as well, but we'll leave that.
It's a little tougher, yeah.
Thinking about you across the state, boys. Not saying that we're reveling in a little bit of displeasure for you right now, but it's okay. We'll just leave it there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the Auburn Experience. On your way out, if you want to keep up to date with me, you can follow me at Kyle Loomis 24 on Twitter. Austin, where can they find you?
At Austin G. Scott for plenty of pictures and commentary of Twins and Auburn athletics.
And all sounds like good things to me. So we'll be back together again on episode 34, but it won't be episode 35, but it won't be as good as episode 34. The GOAT.
That's right.
Thank you, the GOAT, Austin, for joining me for this particular episode. So we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.